It's early October and the season is less than a month away, so we figured it's time to take a close look at the biggest storylines of the Big East this season. Are we going to list them? Nah, that's too boring. We're going to unveil the themes of 2025-2026 Yearbook Superlative style. Ahead, find out who is most likely to succeed, the conference's cutest couple, who will never change, the most likely candidate to save the planet, and the person best suited to make millions. It's all coming up on the debut of Big East Beat. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Janis. You might know me from the other Big East Energy Network shows like Holy Nova and Big East Energy Weekly. Well, now I'm joining forces with Pirate
There we
Vibes
go.
host Brian Webster for a fun new project that we're calling Big East Beat. What is this show? Well, Big East Beat is a fast paced weekly dive into everything Big East basketball. We're going to tackle the league's hottest topics with sharp opinions, infectious energy, and a sense of fun that's going to set us apart. No topics off limits, and we're going to make sure that we give you all the unique angles so you're never bored and always having fun talking about the most entertaining conference in basketball. Brian, I am so excited to do this with you. Please, everybody, help us spread the word. As my kids love to say, smash the like button at the bottom of your screen. It helps us break through all the noise. And you know what? Speaking of noise, Brian, between your favorite baseball team and my favorite baseball team and their gigantic
Did we really have to
disappointment
go this way? Did we
this
really have to start this
October,
off? Then?
I'm ready to talk some basketball. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was excited to talk basketball. And then you got to throw in the Red Sox here. So, as long as the Yankees are losing, we're good too. So, they actually might be being swept right now. So, I'm
I tell
excited
you,
to do
my
the show. We had a blast last week on Big East Energy Weekly. So much that we had to start our own show. So, I'm
yeah, we had a
excited to
lot of
do this.
positive feedback, so we figured why not kind of move forward with it. You came up with this idea. I thought it was a spectacular one. Talk about outside the box thinking. Everybody's got a yearbook in their past, and everybody got the autographs to look back upon it. And we all know how these categories work, so we figured why not line them up with what to expect this year in Big East basketball.
Yeah, I'm excited to just jump right in. Right, the easy one for me. Me and you went back and forth, kind of pitching ideas. The easy one to me is the one I'm going to start off with. It's class couple. It's everyone's favorite. You know, you had your high school sweetheart back in the early 2000s. I'm going to say for myself, right, late 90s, and you had that sweetheart, and you wanted to be class couple. Did they stay together? Probably not, but some of them did. I don't know if yours did. I know for sure mine did. So.
No, no. It's like Brenda and Eddie from Billy Joel's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Didn't work out.
But the class couple of the Big East is obviously Eric's Caravan and Coach Hurley. Without Alex Caravan, I'm sorry. Um, this is an obvious one, right? He wrote a book, right? Hurley's book is out there. If you haven't read it, it's great. Mark's promoted it. He's got the QR code and everything. If you watch his show, um, this is the couple. When you close your eyes and you think of two people in this conference right now, like it's and a coach player relationship. This is the relationship that you see. Caravan goes to the pros. Hurley almost ends up in the pros. They come back together. They unite. Last season wasn't the greatest. Now they're on a revenge tour, and now Hurley looks more psychotic than ever and trying to get a title in Caravan's last year. Caravan has played 110 games for UConn. 111 games. He has started 110 games. He's been a starter. He's been a cornerstone of the revival of UConn. I know Mark will say they never went away, but like Hurley, this generation of UConn's something different, and it starts with the recruiting of Caravan. He wasn't a game changer when he was recruited, but he was that program. When you close your eyes and you think about Danny Hurley 15, 20 years from now, and you're thinking about these UConn teams, you're thinking Alex Caravan on that list.
It's kind of like, well, Khalid El-Amin wasn't one of the best players in UConn history, but he was one of the most important players. And he has a special spot in every UConn fan's heart, right? And I think that's where Caravan always will reside no matter what, but he has a chance to take it to another stratosphere if they do what they're thinking they're going to do this year.
Yeah, you definitely don't think of Aiden Mahaney, right? Like when you come to class couple here and the loving relationship and the superlative, it's these two. So
Will there be a happy ending, though, for them this year? That's the million-dollar question.
that we on Big East Energy Weekly, we kind of took our sides. I think we kind of leaned our way of who we're kind of favored this year. I would say UConn in the Big East Conference would be the one that I would choose for the number one championship, regular season and tournament.
Well, you know exactly what you're going to get out of this UConn team. Caravan, such a big part of the reason why I think that's a great choice to get things started. I'm going to go with the most likely to succeed. We all knew that person that you just figured was going to get it done in life. They had the talent, they had the smarts, and they had that special sort of extra quality about them. And in the Big East, to me, over the last decade or so, that has been Greg McDermott and the job he has done at Creighton. He welcomes in Owen Freeman this year, the transfer out of Iowa. And to me, Greg McDermott is going to succeed in teaching Owen Freeman how to play defense. It is so important for Creighton that he learned to do it. He has to step into the shoes of Ryan Kalkbrenner, who was the four-time Defensive Player of the Year. No big thing that he has to fill in for. National Player of the Year. In fact, last year, there's a ton of similarities to their game, especially on the offensive and the rebounding that they will bring to the table. Defensive traits, you know, they're there. There are a lot of things that you can kind of see mirror-like images, but the consistency, that's the million-dollar question. And remember, I said it a moment ago, he comes to Creighton from Iowa. That was Fran McCaffrey's Iowa, also known as defense is optional. And the option was not taken very often during the last half decade at Iowa. Freeman said all the right things coming into last year about how important it was to play defense. At times, he was able to show some flashes, but he was also on the floor when they gave up 115 to Indiana. They didn't look good defensively. He was amongst that mess before he got injured with a finger that kept him out for a couple months. He is a guy that's used to playing up tempo. They played a high tempo at Iowa. He played up tempo in high school. And now he comes to Creighton, where they also play up tempo. The difference is Greg McDermott demands that you run on offense, but you run the other way back on defense and you lock in. And I just feel like the principles that Mac has in place with his program and the way he implements a defense, he'll be able to get through a guy that clearly has an open mindset to playing on that end of the floor like Owen Freeman does. The one thing that I am a little bit concerned about, he was coming back from the injury last year with the finger, so he missed the initial workouts when he arrived at Creighton. Then he hurt his knee and still hasn't technically been cleared. He's only 3 months removed from that knee surgery. Matter of fact, Greg McDermott was just talking with the media a couple weeks ago about how it's a little bit up in the air. They're still waiting for him to get full clearance and be green lit. So you wonder where he is in terms of learning that system. It might not happen right away, but again, that most likely to succeed is a long-term proposition. By the end of the season, I feel like Freeman is going to be that prototypical pain in everybody's side on offense when they're trying to run their offense against Creighton, and he's going to be a headache to face late in Big East play.
Yeah, are you calling that he's going to be a defensive player of the year?
No, not going to be a defensive player.
I don't know how far your success is going here on this.
He's going to be the catalyst of Creighton not taking a step backwards as a group defensively. I think the other parts will step up to kind of help fill the void. Obviously, the Kalkbrenner is going to leave, but he's not going to be such a tremendous drop-off that he's a liability out there, and then everybody else rallies around. They don't lose too much on the defensive end, and they might be better offensively, and that's why I know you are really high on Creighton, and they could potentially be even better than they were a season ago.
Yeah, I in my preseason rankings, I have them 2 in the conference, which is after watching a lot of previews this past couple weeks and all this content out there now because we're in October. It might be a little crazy, but I'm willing to live on the edge because remember everyone was picking UConn to win last year and they ended up 3rd. And who was the second place team? I'm just throwing that out there, right? Greg McDermott gets the job done. And me and you argued about coaches last episode, and you had McDermott, and that was the leg up. I said Shaka was kind of closer, but McDermott is number 3. It's close. I think it's closer between the two. We're not going to go down that rabbit trail because we did that last week. But talking about another coach, we're talking teacher's pet. We're talking teacher's pet. All right. Teacher's pet is Ed Cooley. Here's my thing with Ed Cooley. Everybody loves Ed Cooley. No one has outside of Providence fans. Everyone loves.
Just wanted to make sure you said that.
Everyone loves Ed Cooley. The press loves him. He always gets pass. Like I feel like he gets more of a pass than Kim English does at Providence. And I know they Kim replaced him. I think he gets a pass more than I was listening to a podcast today. They're talking Shaw's on a hot seat. He gets a pass more than Shaw. And Shaw's got no money in the NIL, right? He gets this pass, and everyone has this faith that Georgetown has turned the corner, and we're all rooting for it because of the Big East. I agree with that. I listen to you every single week talk about how Georgetown and Villanova need to get back. Ed Cooley gets that pass, and it irks me just like a teacher's pet. Just like a teacher's pet back in school, the kid that was always up the teacher's butt, trying to get a better grade, extra credit, all that kind of stuff, and gets a little pass. The homework gets in a little late. My dog ate the homework excuse actually is allowed for that person. I think Ed Cooley's that guy in this league. So without a doubt, it's Ed Cooley.
Here's the thing about Ed Cooley. I was actually nominating a different superlative. I thought the Georgetown fans could be considered the most gullible because they're completely convinced that Georgetown not only is going to turn the corner this season and be an NCAA tournament team, but they could potentially make a run in the NCAA tournament. And you know what? They might be able to get over the hump and make it to March. I don't have them going there, but they have some talent and some pieces in place where it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. No one, though, can still explain to me where the consistent shot making is going to come from that has everyone so confident about it, though. It's possible there's some strides forwards that have to happen, though, to get there. And it kind of goes to what you're saying. Ed Cooley just has a way of selling it to people that they buy in. That's a big part of coaching. It used to be an even bigger part of coaching. NIL has kind of made it a little bit less important, but it's still a critical thing. And I think it's one of the big keys to its success. It's how he sold a place like Fairfield, how he sold turning Providence back into a player on the national stage. It's what they thought they would get at Georgetown. They just haven't gotten it yet. Better happen pretty soon because I think that gullibility is going to turn into pure frustration if they don't break through this year in Hoyle.
Well, I all the preseason rankings, and you see the all analytics. Georgetown is the only team that I've found at any Big East rankings that actually is below Seton Hall. So I've seen rankings where Georgetown is in the 40s, and I've seen rankings where Georgetown's in the 100 or early hundreds in the preseason rankings analytically. So it's a big season for him. I know everyone's saying the hot seat was Kim English and all that because Providence was more established when they got there, but like it's got to be here too. But it seems like he gets a pass.
Well, I just don't think Georgetown has an alternative, so I don't think he's really on the hot seat, but I think it could stall any momentum he has in terms of trying to get them turning the corner in the NIL space and in the funding space that is so critical in modern college athletics. I think the Georgetown people, if they don't win this year, they weren't really into this to begin with. They reluctantly came along. Ed Cooley kind of pulled them there. Now he's got to show the benefits of it with wins this season. And it is funny. I was told there would be no math. I'm not a big advanced numbers guy, but I do know they love to see the ball go in the basket. And that's why I think they are so low on so many of those statistical rankings. Yeah, the ball, where are the 3-point shots going to come from? It is the $1 million question. I know one team that does a pretty good job making 3-point shots. That's our friends up at Marquette, at least during the regular season. And that brings us to our next superlative, the most likely to never change. Shaka, you do you, my friend. Shaka Smart has quite the interesting thing going on up in Wisconsin these days. This year's team, you see them, a lot of people are very confused what to make of Marquette. They have 11 players back, but only 2 starters and 43% of their scoring returning from last year's team, which quite frankly was pretty head-scratching to begin with. I mean, that's a group that was ranked as high as 5th in the nation in mid-December, and then they just absolutely seemed to get worse and worse as the season progressed, culminating with losing 4 of their last 5 in the regular season and another first-round NCAA tournament departure. That's the thing about Shaka Smart. You have to give him credit for what he has done in the regular season. He puts these pieces together. He develops from within his program in an era where everybody looks outside, goes to the portal, and brings in the quick fix. Smart develops talent, and he gets guys better. He gets people to buy into his system, and it tends to work, at least for a while during the regular season. That's why, to me, I have no doubt that he will somehow put these pieces together and kind of to get them back to that top 4 in the Big East and to March Madness. I mean, you look at this team and they have Chase Ross, who's a good player, who could become a very good player. And then you got Ben Gold, who's kind of a dependable big inside. You got the freshman point guard, Niall James Jr., that I know a lot of people are big on. He has a chance to really, I think, surprise people. And then you have all those role players returning. So there are pieces there that I think that they will get better as the season progresses. They will win a lot of Big East games. Shaka Smart seems to have a good feel for how to beat bad teams and then can surprise a good team with that defensive pressure and the ability to make threes in bunches. The problem for Shaka Smart right now is he is starting to turn into college basketball's version of James Franklin. And quite frankly,
boy.
right now, that's not a comparison that you want. Here's my analogy. James Franklin, a guy who at Penn State now, obviously, we all saw what he did last week against UCLA and then 2 weeks ago against Oregon. His record against the top 10 in the AP is a disaster. Shaka Smart's won more big games than James Franklin. He's not 4-21 against the AP top 10 of all time. But here's what Shaka Smart is. A guy that had great success at an earlier stop at VCU. He went to the Final Four, kind of made his name, working wonders at a spot that you wouldn't suspect to have that type of success, just like James Franklin did at Vanderbilt when he turned that program around in the SEC, made him a perennial bowl team. Then he got a better job. Shaka Smart went to Texas. That did not work. Got fired, went somewhere else. James Franklin went to Penn State, never got fired. It was a disaster when he got there, slowly built it up. Shaka Smart now at Marquette, it was a bit of a quicker build. I mean, he has been a perennial NCAA tournament mainstay, but where they have the similarities, he just disappoints his fan base to no end come March. Those are the big games in college basketball, and Shaka Smart cannot get it done. In the 12 years since he took VCU to the Final Four, he has a grand total of 5 NCAA tournament wins. In his time at Marquette, the guy won 29 games, flamed out in the second round. Then he won 27 games. It looked like they might finally break through. They get to the Sweet 16, get eviscerated by NC State in that Sweet 16. And then we talked about last year, just an utter disappointment down the stretch, non-competitive in the NCAA tournament. I'm at the point where when Marquette gets to March, I'm just expecting them to disappoint everybody. And the problem for Shaka Smart is I think Marquette fans are getting closer and closer to that point as well. And in this era of college basketball, that's not a good place to be. And that's where I start to make those parallels to what we see from James Franklin and not so Happy Valley these days at Penn State. And for Shaka, it just doesn't feel like things are about to change.
That's crazy talk because I think he is building that culture, and I think Marquette isn't as easy to maintain a winner as other programs in the Big East. I really don't. I think that's Shaka Smart, getting them to the tournament and building that culture, and not taking any transfers. I think it's tough to win at Marquette. Would you say that? Like if you are taking a job, Villanova or Marquette, they both are coming off a bad season. Which one are you taking?
I'm taking Villanova because of the history of Villanova. But I will say,
how about Marquette and St. John's?
I'm taking, St. John's is different right now. Let's see how long, Mr. Money is willing to be shelling it out for. If that's a lifelong proposition, then yeah, I'm probably taking St. John's. Here's one though. I'm taking Georgetown or Marquette. I'm taking Marquette.
Yeah. I guess you're right there. I guess you're right there.
Marquette's got some money too. Let's not forget that part of the equation. It's not as vast as
Mike Repoli. It's not Mike Repoli type.
Yeah, I mean they have some opportunities to pay guys.
They've just Marquette or Creighton. That I guess that's a good one.
That's a tougher one. I want to see what Creighton is in the post Mac era, but man, that fan base is electric. I mean, I really do think Creighton has some staying power. I think that Greg McDermott is the most underrated coach in the country, but I think he has built something that is sustainable, and I think it'll stick around. I think I'd probably take Creighton.
So my point is, you take Creighton, you take St. John's, you probably take UConn, obviously with state money.
Definitely
right?
Take UConn. Definitely take Villanova,
and you're taking Villanova. Georgetown's kind of in the way. So you're telling me it's the 5th best job in the conference, roughly.
And he's built.
I'm not even considering Butler and all that, right?
And he's built the fourth best program.
But then he's well, first of all, I said the fifth best and towards the money, right? So he actually is coaching him up. You said he had 29 wins with the fourth best program or fifth best program in the conference. Like,
well,
he's winning there. He's winning there. You're just judging him on a Sweet 16 appearance here and there. Like, he's consistent winner. Like, as the Seton Hall guy, as a guy that just came off Kyle Neptune, you would love to have a Shaka Smart. And that
that's the thing. He's the fourth best program in the Big East because of Kyle Neptune's existence. And remember, you've got a down Villanova right now that, yes, it's a better job, and we'll see what Kevin Willard does with it.
It's the fifth best job in the conference, right? So, like, you keep putting Marquette lower and lower, but he keeps winning. He's in the top four. Everyone's saying he's in the top four.
I'm saying that right now he has Marquette as the fourth best program. It's the fifth best job, but it's the fourth best program ahead of Villanova. If Kevin Willard gets Villanova right back to where it should be, then Shaka Smart is just achieving what he should at Marquette and then underachieving in March, which, oh, by the way, further cements my James Franklin parallel. He's taking a job at Penn State football, and he wins against all the teams he should win, and then he loses all the big games, except for obviously UCLA this past week. But I think at a certain point, fans are going to want more. It gets a little bit stale. I'd rather build for that big cycle rather than be good every year, overachieve in the regular season, and then underachieve in March. And again, if it was just a few years, that would be one thing. We're talking 12 years, 5 NCAA tournament wins. And by the way, the job he had before this one wasn't a bad job. Texas is a pretty good one, and he couldn't win there either.
Well, I think Texas is a better one now. Sean Miller got it at the better time when you could pay people all the way. Talking about paying people all the way. Quote, I don't know if your yearbook, did your yearbook have a quote?
Yes.
Do you remember what the...
No, it was too long ago. Look at my hairline. Yeah. You think I remember what the quote was?
Neither do I. It was something crazy. It was something that reflected 2001. I know that before 9/11 for me. The yearbook quote for the Big East is the point guard is totally done. He said this on Rothstein. He's gone and he's talking about how he doesn't have a point guard and the point guard, we're playing positional basketball. And I'm going to call this BS. I get what he's trying to say, but at the end of the day, there still has to be a guy that when the game's on the line, that's my guy. Maybe it's not the traditional 6'3" point guard like Tony Delk or Peyton Siva that he's had in the past, but he's still going to have a guy that when the game's on the line, and I think my Boston Celtics are a perfect example, right? Like Jason Tatum's not a point guard, but when the game was on the line, when they were making a championship run 2 years ago, he had the ball in his hand. Not Jaylen Brown, not Derek White, who probably physically is the point guard. It was him making plays. The point guard is now a position of just, this is our alpha guy. And for him to, he's playing semantics here. And I just, he drives me crazy. You know, he drives me crazy with like, you love it. I know you love it where he just doesn't give a crap about what he's saying anymore. He's old senile Patino, but like, I don't know.
He's not old senile Patino. Hold on, Brian. He is telling you what he thinks at that particular moment. Now, might he think a different thing a week from now? I do think that might be true with Rick Pitino at this stage, but I just don't think there's a filter with Rick right now. The one caveat, though, or the one pushback I'll give to your point, I understand what you're saying. I think you made a good point last week that his teams tend to be at their best when he's got a good point guard, and it should be a bit of a concern to St. John's fans that there are questions at the position this year. But you made the Jason Tatum analogy. That's what he's talking about. He's saying, I don't need to have a guy that dominates the ball. I'm going to run my system.
But you still do, though. You still do. Jason Tatum dominated the ball. Like, he still brings it up. He still makes the plays. He does everything to point. Like, he's not 6'3", but he still has the ball in his hand all the time.
But let me finish my point. I think what he is looking for is the guy that they can go to when they need a bucket. I think he thinks they have multiple opportunities to find that guy. I don't know if he has necessarily solidified which one it is yet. I think he's still looking at 2 or 3 options, but I think he's not worried about the traditional point guard. He's looking for a Jason Tatum type, and he thinks he has opportunities for guys to become that as the season progresses. He has also said, though, that he's put together a really tough non-conference schedule and that they're going to be a team that gets better as the season progresses.
That's what every coach would say. That's coach speak.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's coach speak. I think he's preparing St. John's fans for it's going to be a little bit of a slow start. I think that's true. I think there's some truth to that. I don't know if St. John's is a top 5 team right now. I think St. John's very much can turn into a top 5 team by the end of the season. And with Rick Pitino on the sideline, kind of pushing them along and pushing the buttons that he's so good at doing at every stop over the course of his career, I have a lot of faith that they'll get there.
It's crazy. I know you're not locked in the Seton Hall, but Shaw had a press conference, a media day, and he said he was asked about UConn and St. John's being good for the conference, and he's like, "Yeah, it's cool. They'll be in the Final Four with us." So, two opposite sides of the spectrum, right there.
Oh, Shaw's bringing the levity. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the levity, here comes where everybody calls me a homer, as I am the host of our Villanova show on the Big East Energy Network, Holy Nova. Our last quote, our last superlative is the most likely to save the world. And we talked about how Villanova obviously has been underachieving the last several years, trying to fill the void since the retirement. Felt like a graduation as we talked yearbooks, but the end of the era when Jay Wright left and Kyle Neptune, it obviously did not go all that well for him. Villanova returns just 9% of their scoring from a season ago. And so now you're kind of looking for someone to step up. And if there is going to be that person that can lift a program who has been down to the next level, to me, it's Villanova freshman Caden Lewis. I think a lot of people very familiar with his story. He's a top 40 recruit in the country. And he was a guy that a lot of people were looking at as potentially much better than that, especially when he committed to Kentucky. Then he decommits relatively late in the process. Kentucky looked like they were going to bring in some bodies out of the transfer portal. They did end up doing so. Lewis was a little unsure what his role would be right away, so he elects to reopen his recruitment. Kevin Willard gets the job late after all of his dalliances, going through the Sweet 16 with Maryland, then finally losing and leaving for Villanova. So by the time he gets the Wildcat job, the portal is in full force. He's looking for bodies, desperately trying to fill out a roster, and he lands Lewis, which I thought was a really big deal for Villanova. The thing about Lewis that is so impressive is he is, as a freshman, near the top of Villanova's strength and conditioning program. Kevin Willard has talked about that at great length this offseason. He is physically mature. He's also a little bit older kid. He's 19 going on 20 right now. So he's a guy that is stronger than your regular freshman, which I think is really important in Villanova's system, where you're going to have to guard multiple positions. You're not going to just end up on the perimeter with some small guys. Lewis can hold his own defensively. He can wall up, which is such an important part of Kevin Willard's defensive system. He is magical with the ball in his hands. His ball handling skills, obviously, that was a big part of every highlight reel that you watched from him in high school. It included at least 2, if not 3, killer crossovers. His playmaking and his passing, they just seem to come out of thin air. He finds teammates all over the floor. He can get you for an open jumper. He can get you for a layup. He can get you the lob at the rim. He has all the tools in his bag, except there are 2 big question marks with Caden Lewis. Will he try to make too many spectacular plays and not make the ordinary play? That's something Kevin Willard has been worried about all offseason long. And then his three-point shooting. That was what kept him from being a top 10, top 20 recruit coming out of high school. Kevin Willard says it has improved over the course of the summer. He says the shot is not broken. The form is okay. It just needed a little bit of refinement and consistency. They feel like they've got that going in the right direction. Willard said if he becomes a 35% three-point shooter, he's a pro. He didn't say he's a pro in 3 or 4 years. He's insinuating he could be a potential one-and-done guy. You're seeing more and more whispers of that. I don't think he's a one-and-done guy, but I think he has a chance to be the most improved player in the Big East from where he is right now today to where he is at the end of the season. And I think he'll be a big part of the reason why Villanova might take some lumps early with all the new pieces they have in place. But by March, when you look at the conference standings, I think they're going to be near the top. I think Lewis is going to be right in the thick of the reason why.
Yeah, I think I went on your show and I told you about the guards that are typically in Kevin Willard's system. They're big guards. They're strong guards. And you said he's at the top of the weightlifting. Think Miles Powell, right? Miles Powell was bulky guy. Whitehead was bulky guy. Like typically the guards that succeed in his system are bulkier and stronger. And if he's already at the top of either you got a really weak team, right? Everyone else is not in the mold for Kevin Willard, or or he's exceptional. And I this was the one superlative where I was like, that's really good. Like the other ones I can argue with. I can't argue with it, but that I have an affinity for Kevin Willard and that program right now, and I'm kind of jealous. But Caden Lewis is one of the reasons. I think he's a great talent. I'm going to go on record saying he's going to be freshman of the year, and that includes Braylon Mullins. And because I think, first of all, he's going to get the opportunity. He's not playing in a deep roster, like he's not sharing the ball with Solo Ball and Silas Demery and Alex Caravan. Like he's going to be the guy. So I think he's going to be the freshman that everyone's going to know. And I really do. I don't think he goes pro after this year. I think it would be one more year. I think you got one more year with him. You got 2 years with Caden Lewis, which by that time Kevin Willard would be hitting his stride and he'll have his guys. And this offseason was quick for him, right? He got the job in late March, right? And finally hitting the ground. Like by the time you figure out everything, the transfer portal's over. Like it just. So he was behind the 8 ball, and I think this is one of those guys that he was able to get, plus his Maryland guys, and he's able to build a system. And I think in 2 years, Villanova is going to be wrecked.
Remember, Devin Askew was a transfer that came in. He got injured, so he's going to be out early. So that's going to mean more playing time for Lewis early. I think it's going to fast forward his maturation process. Again, there are going to be some bumps early in the year. I agree with you. He's a 2-year college guy at least, but I'm just saying the fact that there are scouts and Kevin Willard's even entertaining the possibility of one and done tells you how high the ceiling is.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be an NBA player, which go right into our call to action, right? Go ahead, Matt. Take it away.
All right, so here we go. Most likely to be a multi-millionaire. That's our question of the week. We want to hear who you think it is. Make sure that you like this video. It really helps us get in front of more Big East fans. The algorithm is a complicated thing in the YouTube world, but the one thing that certainly it solves it is interaction. So like, and in our comment section, let us know who you think the most likely to be a multi-millionaire is. Who's biggest or whose star is brightest when it comes to NBA futures in this conference. You got a lot of options, obviously, that you can choose from. Brian, we're going to give our option. So let us know if you agree, disagree, and who your pick is in terms of the best pro that will play in the Big East this year. It could be a young guy that is maybe a year or two away, like in a Caden Lewis, or it can be a guy that's ready to go right now. I'll let you go first, Brian. What's your answer?
So I think you can go. There's a lot of guys in the league, and I wanted to shine kind of guys that everyone's going to say Solo Ball and Alex Caravan and Braylon. This is a UConn channel, right? There's a lot of UConn fans that watch our stuff. So I kind of wanted to go off the radar. And first of all, his name is all right? His name is quality. The new guard from Valpo that's at Xavier. I started to think like role players, right? Multi-million, like not first round draft picks, but guys that can have a 6-year career and be able to make money, right? And you're just talking about multi-million. We didn't say who's the top draft pick in the league. We're talking about someone that could have a long career. And all I think when I see All Right's film is TJ McConnell. It's just a little bit of a pit bull, kind of tough, can shoot, a role player. And you saw how important TJ McConnell was to the Indiana Pacers this year, right? After in the finals, leading, like there were moments where TJ McConnell might have been the best player on the court during their playoff run, where he just took it over. So I think I'm going to go with All Right. I know it's kind of a little off the radar, but I'm going to go All Right. And now he's in Richard Pitino's system, so I think his 3-point shooting, 40%. He averaged 16 points as a freshman. I know that's at Valpo, but I think it's going to translate into the Big East, especially in Pitino's system. So I'm going to go All Right.
All right. Had to do it. Couldn't help myself. Was telling myself the entire segment, don't do that. Don't do that. Could not help but do it. How many times do you think we will hear that from announcers over the course of this season?
A million. I could just imagine the Cintas Center when he hits a 3 and just going crazy, and they're going to have something crazy. And the roll block guys, I'm sure, are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, they're going to be mad at you, by the way, too. You spent too long in the South. You and every other Southern person who keeps calling him Xavier. They don't like that. Just remember, that is the most Southern thing in the world.
No, so I think I've always said it that way. Maybe it's changed. I don't know. Like I'm actually playing him ahead. I didn't even realize I have been in the South too long. You're right.
Well, we're old enough, Brian, that nobody knew about Xavier when we were kids. That was not a big thing. Pete Gillen kind of put them on
Yeah.
the radar screen when we were, what, 9, 10 years old. Before that, they were true mid-majors, but they had that run in the Atlantic 10, and now they are in the Big East trying to get back to where Chris Mack had them a while ago. I like that pick. I'm going to go a little bit more chalk. I'm going to play to the crowd. I mean, you mentioned all the UConn fans that are here. They're probably already a little bit mad at us. I think you called Hurley a psycho earlier. I did not say that.
That was out of love. That was out of love. I'm gonna, if as you watch the show, I'm gonna call him psycho out of a term of endearment. As from someone that grew up in Connecticut, like that's a term of endearment. Like it's psycho because it's passion.
It's also, I mean, he's psycho too. Let's be honest. It's again, you're right. It's what fuels him and it's what makes him such a good coach. But there's a little bit of a.
Have you read the book yet? Have you read the book?
I've read the excerpts. I've not purchased the book.
I'm in the second chapter. I was going to buy it, and then my aunt, who I haven't, they're from Connecticut. A little backstory: I grew up in Connecticut, and people always try to convince me to be a UConn fan, and I zagged and became a Hall fan. And so they still, like, I've got UConn t-shirts. I'm not a UConn fan. Like I have memorabilia of UConn stuff because my family just continues to try to get me to support UConn. So I got the book on the day that the book came out. I started it. I started it yesterday on my lunch at work, and so we'll go from there. I'll let you know how if it's a must read. Mark will tell you it's a must read. It is what it is right now. We're talking Lakers, so I'm a Celtics fan.
Now, right now, I'm going through my Jay Wright book that's over my back shoulder in anticipation for the start of the season. But I am going to say I think Braylon Mullins will long term be the best professional player that plays in the Big East this year. And here's my theory why. Obviously, we know what kind of shooter he is. I mean, he is just a lights out spot up shooter. He can shoot off the bounce. He's got length for a kid his size. And then also surprising amount of athleticism. You listen to Hurley talk about him here over these last couple of weeks. I was really impressed by the way he described him, the physical toughness for a kid his age, he not shying away from going inside, the defensive mindset that he already brings to the program at this stage of his career. And just the fact that he can finish near the rim with his shooting ability, has a little bit of a handle. That's the area that they're looking to improve, but he can put the ball on the floor. He is not a liability off the bounce. There just aren't a lot of holes in his game. There are areas where he can improve as a young kid, but I just feel like he probably was the most underrated guy in the recruiting class last year. And I think he's just someone, his skill set fits the modern game so perfectly. And he will just get better and better and better. He's like fine wine. He's going to age incredibly well. And to me, the ceiling is so incredibly high. And when you have a guy like Hurley giving that type of praise to a freshman, he actually caught himself during one of the press conferences I was watching where he said, well, now he is a freshman and he does have to earn his way into the starting lineup. He has to make sure that he takes these tools and he continues to work and he continues to earn his role and it to increase. But he was heaping the praise. You can see that Hurley buys in. Yeah. And there's not many coaches in the country that you'd rather have in terms of teaching and improving a player over the course of a season than Hurley. What he will be able to do with Mullins, I think he's going to be special long term. And I think that's the real deal. And I think if we're talking multi-millionaire, he's going to be a multi-millionaire by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, do you think he's a one and done? That's the question I got, because I agree with you. He's going to be an NBA draft pick, lottery, more than likely. When you shoot 47% from three at that volume, it's not like he took two shots and he made nearly 90% of those two shots. You know what I mean? He was going 1 for 2 90% of the time.
No, he's a legit perimeter player.
Yeah, he was making 6 threes per game in the summer circuit. Like this kid is legit, and he's 6'5", got good size. He's going to be a 2 guard. But what about their other freshman, Eric Uribe? 7-footer. He's a stretch.
A lot of options.
It's crazy.
Big East has some top tier talent this year. It's not like we have seen maybe at times over the last couple of seasons where basically you had the UConn guys and then maybe Cam Jones. I mean, we kept trying to make Eric Dixon a thing. That wasn't a thing. And then obviously what we saw from Kalkbrenner, he's going to be a guy that sticks around in the NBA, but he's not going to be a standout in the NBA. I think the Big East has some guys that will have really good NBA careers. And I think that Mullins might be a star.
Yeah, and your boy Caden Lewis. I think those are two that could be lottery picks pretty
I
easily.
can't stop smiling every time you say that.
It kills me, man. It kills me. As a Hall guy, it kills me, but I respect it.
All right, so that's our answer. Make sure you leave your answer in the comments below. Please like the video. It really is a big deal.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you haven't already to the Big East Energy Network. We're going to be here every week, Brian. This is going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, this is a blast talking basketball outside of my Hall circles. That's the best thing. Is like I get a little bit the Shaka dislike earlier. Like I get a different perspective and I enjoy that.
Well, we're going to make sure that we keep this fun, we keep this fast moving, and we certainly hope that you will come along with us for the ride. So join us every week on the Big East Beat. For Brian Webster, I'm Matt Janis. Thanks so much for being with us.